Ladies and gentlemen, look who is on the show. Luke Roberts. How are you, mate? Thanks for taking the
Oh,
time.
good, peace. Not at all. Thank you for having me. Yeah, doing very well. Doing very well. Nice of you to have me on.
It was an incredible performance, what you've put up for Silent Hill 2. I'm sorry, but there's got to be some awards coming your way, Luke. This was a hell of a performance.
Oh, well, that is very kind of you. I mean, I'm blushing. I don't know what to say. It was yeah, it was a great project. And obviously there's so much I don't know, it's a big one in gaming lore. So yeah, it was obviously a challenge for everybody to get it right, but it was made with a lot of love and a lot of industry. People were just, yeah, they were just very dead set on getting it right. So it was a different mountain to climb, but yeah, it's a great game. It's a great premise. I mean, it's a terrific character, to be honest. So it was yeah, it was an honor to try and do it justice.
We are going to get into spoilers here, guys. So this is your warning for the future. Play the damn game. It's fantastic. So, Luke, how did you tackle this character? How did you start? Where do you start?
Well, I mean, for me, it began as a thoroughly non-disclosure agreement situation. And I auditioned for it through the pandemic over the course of about 2 years, to be honest. It was I could be wrong, it might have been 18 months, but it was a long old process. And all I knew was that it was a survival horror situation. And it's quite unusual for me with voice work to send audio visual self tapes. So I had my mind, personal references. I had the thing in mind. So and it was winter when I initially did the audition. So I popped on the snow jacket and imagined myself in some frozen Alaskan town. And what the brief was basically be an American everyman, small town. I won't say middle America, but sort of somewhere in America. And I just assumed it was like an Arctic horror. So I dressed up and overheated in my audition, I remember. And there were callbacks. It was quite a process, and it went on for some time. And obviously, the start date got pushed back and back and back, and it wasn't for a long time that I was confirmed as the guy. And then I discovered it was different. I mean, there was some reference material. They suggested Bill Pullman, who's a terrific actor, and does do that sort of accessible everyman in Lost Highway particularly well. And so that was a reference, and actually aesthetically they kind of have gone for that version of me, I guess, and indeed James. So yeah, it was I didn't quite know what I was auditioning for, so that's how I began. But the material suggested a certain performance, and then yeah, then I learned more and more about it once I had booked the gig, and yeah, we kind of took it from there. But it was impressed upon me early on that he is very much a guy out of his depth and uncertain of his surroundings. And I think I've said it before. In no way, shape, or form is he a an action hero. There is obviously, as you know, there's some combat in it, but that isn't the principal thrust of this game. And so yeah, it was interesting to mine the mind of somebody suffering with amnesia.
Mm.
But he seems none the wiser. He's not aware of the pieces that are missing. He's just trying to comprehend his very strange surroundings, and obviously this magnetic pull of the letter from his deceased wife, which I imagine would get anyone. But yeah, it was really fun. Forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but I definitely we shot as much as we could in story order. Although obviously you play the game and you can, it's not quite an open world, but you can go in all kinds of different directions, and there are obviously different endings. So,
A
but
few.
we started at the beginning. A few, yeah, yeah. So it was really interesting to do that too. To play those multiple endings, because it's sort of like a reset, and it's almost as if this thing could go anywhere. Um,
Do you have one in
but
your
yeah,
mind that's like the target when they're laid out?
Uh, No, they fed me the information as we went along, so I didn't know where it was going. I mean, I had obviously I think there's some, I could be wrong about it, some 73 cutscenes. There's quite a lot of scenes. It's
Yeah.
for me, it was like shooting a full movie
Mm.
in really just a few weeks. Um,
A few
of course, the
weeks.
yeah.
Jeez, Luke. Wow.
Yeah, it was
That's a
just a few weeks.
draining
Yeah,
few weeks.
we had an initial period of a week, I think. Then I did a 2 week spell,
Wow.
and then there was a little bit of follow up. So yeah, it was about 3.5 weeks,
So a
I think.
couple of takes per scene, really.
Um, that's an interesting question. There are a few takes. The advantage we have is that there's no lighting setup between takes.
True, true.
So
It's quick reset. Yeah.
yeah, like almost soap opera speed. You can shoot 5 scenes a day.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
because you're not worried about that. We obviously had to, well, not obviously, but we had two camera operators offering up a reference frame along the lines of what the guys had already sort of planned. It was very well planned and storyboarded. Mateusz and Maciek and Andrzej. Andrzej is the writer. Maciek is the cinematics specialist, and Mateusz is the director. There is a bigger team than that, but they were sort of the loudest voices on the floor. And when I say loud, they're very, very quiet because they're very, considerate, intellectual technicians as well as creatives. It was all very gentle. It was a lovely experience, honestly. They were great, and you sort of talked us through and say, "Okay, look, can we have a bit more?" It's very quiet, and it was a great experience.
Have you ever had that in TV or film? Have you ever had gentle directors like that before?
Oh, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure, yeah, 100%. And for my money, the best ones are quite gentle.
Yeah.
You don't need to raise your voice when you have something significant to say. Um,
True.
I think, but yeah, they were amazing. They were great guys, and they had such collectively, and I can't, I'm loath to group them all together, but they have a great sense of humor. And great reverence for the material, but at the same time, kind of irreverence for life and the situation. And they're like, yeah, sure, we'll do that. And there was a good few in jokes poured in as well, and one or two beers, but
That's
not
always
when
good.
we were working. But yeah, they were very concise and great team. And I haven't even mentioned the cast. The cast were amazing as well. So all in all, a good experience. And as I say, I hadn't done that before. So for me, working in the volume in a vacuum, really, because there's nothing there, um, you are just on this what looks rather like a tennis court. Instead of first positions, you would get this you get T pose, right? So you have to stand with your arms out to your sides, with your spine nicely aligned, hopefully, and so they can match up you with the software. So yeah, it was a very different experience, very fun, and yeah, you really do have to imagine everything because the wind is howling, the fog is swirling around you. There's some creature, there's static on your radio. It's all going on. Just as if you've played the game, you'd be all too familiar. All of that stuff, but there's nothing there. For me, there's nothing there. There's just we have a look at a placeholder, and I'm sure you're very familiar, but you have a look at a sort of a rough sketch, an animated 3D sketch of what they need, and then you're given a certain amount of latitude within that just to behave naturally. And I think, going back to your question, 25 minutes later, my feeling was, with and I feel this way about most drama, but certainly with horror, if you set up a fairly realistic milieu, place, and attitude, if your characters are convincing, then it's much easier to be sideswiped by the thrills and the shocks because you've kind of bought into the world, and you're not you're in. And I always love that.
So the next game's Silent Hill 2. Yeah.
Silent Hill 2. Yeah. I mean, that's the next one I need to play. I have I've I'm very familiar with the original because that was coursing through all of our veins when we were making this. Guy Cihi, I'm not sure how we pronounce his name, but his version of James and indeed the original, it's classic, and so many good things were born out of limited means. There's never enough. It doesn't matter how big a budget it is. You're always having to compromise something, and I maintain, probably out of necessity, that good things are born out of that. You have to get creative, and I watched some of those documentaries on aliens, particularly, and how they animated the mother alien out of
Oh,
we're literally black bin bags out at the back of Pinewood. I mean, it's amazing. But
amazing.
again, that's, I dare say that's probably why this otherworldly movement has come out of it. I mean, there were great puppeteers who were doing it, but yeah, it's sort of fun when you pull back the curtain and see how these things are made. And I dare say we probably look pretty foolish in the making of Silent Hill, but the end product doesn't look foolish. I have to
Yeah.
hats off to the team, because and it's a big team and it was many years. But they did a bang up job, I think. So I'm really impressed with them, and yeah, definitely proud to be part of it.
How did they lay out the story to you? I'm curious. Was it just scene by scene, or did they give you a whole picture of him?
Well, I had a lot of cutscene scripts, so they were sent over to me. I mean, in fact, even in the audition process, I had to learn quite a lot of the scenes.
Mm.
Yeah, it's funny though. It's one I really wanted. I liked, yeah, I like the genre. I mean, I may have got it wrong and thought it was going to be a snowscape, and I was going to be in the in some Arctic landscape. I got that completely wrong. But the general attitude, no. And then, um, yeah, so I was already familiar with quite a few of the scenes, and then of course they laid it out for me. Once I had the job, they said, okay, here's your scenario, and I was like, oh. And then I really took long, lingering looks without trying to replicate it frame for frame or expression for expression. I was quite intrigued by that bathroom scene. I thought that was, amazing, amazing way of dealing with, um, uh, what do we call it? I never remember the name. It's amazing. Psychogenic amnesia. When it's born out of a traumatic event, you have it's washed away. It's blanked. It's just a very interesting concept, and I've said this I think before, but I'm intrigued by the idea of somebody investigating, the scene of the crime and discovering that, they are the perpetrator. This is the journey
Memento,
of discovery. Memento, yeah,
Nolan.
exactly.
Yep.
Memento, Angel Heart.
Hmm.
And it's got that sort of feeling of Dante's Inferno as well. Like it really
Mm.
is into hell. And I haven't played it, but I've watched cutscenes and tagged onto it some gameplay here and there. And
Yeah.
there's a moment where one of my walking cycles is clearly on a loop, because he just goes down and down and down and
Ah.
down and down. It's like, oh God, you're going to the seventh level of hell. And power to the players, because somebody is you have to go there. Like, you have to spend that time, and
Yeah.
I think that's what's rather nice about it, from what I've gleaned from looking
Yeah.
over people's shoulders while
Yeah.
they're playing it, and seeing clips, is that it's fully immersive, isn't it?
Oh,
And
yeah.
and because it's so atmospheric, because they've just done such a good job with that, and indeed with the original, you just spending time in that place is a trip.
Well, Luke, if you're too busy, I can play it and you could join me for a couple of hours one time, all right, for a live stream for
Sure.
charity. If
Done. We'll throw in some new ad libs or things that didn't make the final
we'll
cut.
make a
Yeah.
ninth ending too. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Were
It's
you
for
um
charity.
were you perplexed by how many dirty holes you had to put your hand in and grummy toilets and
Um, yes, and I know there's a thing being made about it on the internet about, this guy will just do it. He just goes for it. Everyone else is like turned off, but um, Yes, I mean that's where those dastardly original creators planted all the keys, and all the various pieces of debris that need to be collected in order to access the next, unlock the next door or level. Yeah, there's a lot. It's a grim experience for him. I mean, there's a lot of sticky, unidentifiable, viscous materials around, and yeah, James just sticks his hand right in it.
Well, they
Good
go
for
to
him.
the extra detail the with the mechanics when you put your hand in. He has the black hand for a short while after while you play. You know, there's those little details in the game that just, as you said, make it
Yeah,
very
and
immersive.
absolutely, and I understand with the PS5, which I don't have, the PS5 joystick have the haptics, right? So you have this sort of
Yes.
little vibration, and yeah, the gore of it all is almost a 4D experience, which is amazing. I love it.
Even the controller will go orange when he's half health and then flash red when he's
Oh,
nearing
amazing!
death. Yeah. And green when you're healthy. So even little stuff like that. Yeah.
That just intensifies the misery and the desperation and the panic. Yeah, my anxiety be going through the roof, and I wonder if it will be doubled because it's actually me. Um,
That's why I said I'll play for you, Luke. No,
please
don't worry.
do, please do.
I'm always in the green, so
I'll
there's
send
no
you in as my
stress.
avatar. That'd be perfect. So, sorry.
How much of you is in Luke, do you think? How much of you is
Uh,
in Luke? How much of you is in
Quite a lot.
James?
In James, I mean, yes, of course, inevitably quite a lot. Um, I mean, it's a random quote, but yeah, I mean, it's a half quote because I'm barely remembering. But the movie Tootsie with Dustin Hoffman, he talks about, you can't play a role that, isn't for you, that
Mm,
doesn't fit you, or something along those lines. We should scour the internet and find out what the real line is. But
I think you're right on
um,
track. Yeah.
yeah, you do. I mean, inevitably, if you're playing it naturalistically or realistically, you have to draw on your own mannerisms, your own facial responses, your own micro expressions. Yeah, there's a lot in there. I mean, it's a slightly more, I guess, it's a slightly more tentative, more timid version of me, which
Mm.
of course I have. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot. I mean, you're trying to respond in the moment, in a very real, natural, personal way. So yeah, there's probably a ton of me in that performance. But then I've just done something for Sky History called the Gunpowder Siege, plug,
No,
which
congrats.
we thank you. We were very proud of and we really enjoyed it. It was a pretty quick shoot, but I play a very pugilistic, short fused northerner. Um, and it's very different from James. It's the other end of the spectrum, really, in terms of personality. There's nothing tentative or humble or diffident or apologetic about it. He's literally just an aggressor, hopefully with a heart. Yeah, and of course I have that too. But you're aiming for a character, and we were studying the original because it's a much loved character, and you don't want to mess, a hair of its head. So yeah, there's a certain amount of borrowed, and then there's just yeah, you're. I feel like if you're not using yourself, then you're wasting that USP. I mean, that's the bit, isn't it, that you have to offer. Um, so yeah, I don't think you can. I don't think I could act naturally without using elements of self. I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes it's fun to go far off center, but essentially, yeah, if there's an eye raise or a um, sort of a self-reflecting moment, it's very, I guess it's very Luke.
But even the stillness ending comes to mind, where you're kind of in the car and the eye work that you put together. There's not much dialogue, but the eyes. I mean, when you watch that, do you see your eyes in that performance?
Yeah, I was quite pleased with that. I have
Mm.
seen that. I have
Because
seen
there's
that
just
ending.
nuances you don't really see in games that often. I feel.
Well, that's lovely to hear. I mean, we're actors, so I think we're, you know, the job doesn't really change. Like, you have to imagine hard, and, you know, hopefully, without literally going there, sort of mentally or emotionally go there. And I've I think I've never really had too much trouble imagining the scenario, thinking about the scenario hard enough, and imagining it thoroughly enough, so that
But that's a dark
so that yeah,
place, Luke.
yeah, I know, it's the job, it's the job. But I am aware it is a job, so, you know, hopefully you don't take it home with you. But
Mm.
yeah, it's a blending. But then I thought, you know, especially on this one, you know, it's very, very delicate subject matter. You kind of, I would have felt angry at myself if I hadn't given it everything, and really tried to imagine it, because it's, you know, God forbid, but it is some people's thoughts sometimes. And yeah, you want to do these things justice. You want to make them real. Hopefully not make them attractive, but make them, you know, as authentic as possible. Because people do have difficulties, and it's a, yeah, it's a dangerous little area. So yeah, hopefully you handle it with care. Hopefully you handle all of it with care. But yeah.
So, how did you guys handle that scene with Angela where she breaks down and kind of reveals what's happened in her past? That is a haunting scene, you know,
It is.
and she breaks
Yeah,
down, and I mean, oh, I had chills in that scene. That was, yeah, that was full on.
I remember it well. Gianna nailed it. I mean, it was, you know, first time, and it was
One and done.
I think we did more than one take, but I don't think she
Wow.
needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was great. She's a lovely lady, and she's an amazingly committed actor. She'll go for it. Um, she doesn't seem to have, I'm sure she does, but she doesn't seem to have any fear. So she went for it, and she nailed it. And in those scenarios, yeah, it can, when it's done well, it can be uncomfortable viewing. I've just finished a job. Well, not finished a job. I've just begun a job, but I've just finished an episode of something um, where the cast, again, very, very highly skilled, and they had to, um, you know, they had to emote something very painful to them all, and actually painful in real life.
Mm.
And they just did it. And but my feeling was, even being in the room with them, it's like, it's affecting. It is uncomfortable,
Uncomfortable.
and
Yeah.
yeah, you know that you know, when that's the litmus test. If it makes you uncomfortable to be in the room, they've probably done an incredible job. So yeah, Gianna smashed it. Yeah.
And even with the pyramid, the two pyramid heads at the end, and you let out this guttural scream. I mean, that was that was intense.
Yeah, well, I'm glad, because I know by the time we got to Maciek, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, Maciek, our cinematics specialist, was on
Legend.
site and directing. Yeah, he's a legend. But he was the Pyramid Head. He was playing them at that point, and I think the writer Andre reluctantly also stepped in to play the other one. But uh, yeah, so we were actually having fun by that point. But you never, you know, when it comes to work, you never lose hopefully you never lose that thread.
Oh, so
Oh,
you were in a
I'm glad.
light-hearted mood in that scene in real life.
I mean, I might have been, yeah.
What? Oh my. Okay. Well, there you
Yeah,
go. There
I
you go.
might have
That's the
been.
movie magic.
It is the movie magic. I mean, listen, in that very moment, no, because you
Yeah.
summon up all the anguish and all the frustration and desperation and pain and fear and all of those things. But yeah, so it's there, and I don't know where it all comes from, to be honest with you. I think it's there's a well of it. It's
It's kind of hard to
interesting.
explain, isn't it?
I'll to explain. I've been
Yeah.
playing Adapt for quite a few years now on various projects, and it's never hard when you're looking into the eyes of the young performers to feel like a familial connection, or a paternal connection, and yet I had never had those experiences. Now I'm having them for real, and I'm like, all right, good, I got it right, kind of, more or less. It is how you feel, and it is a depth of emotion, and hopefully I will never be in a scenario like James at the end there, where Maria's being eviscerated for the umpteenth time upside down in a cage by spear carrying psychopaths with face
I
who
shouldn't
happen to be a
laugh, but
projection who
here
happen
I
to
am.
be a projection of James's worst traits. So yeah, I mean, hopefully you're never in that scenario.
So with the nurses, I
Mm.
always thought that they're kind of there's some sexual frustration there where James would go to the hospital and he would only see their bodies and things like that. Was that ever talked about? Was that ever in your
It
mind?
was, it was talked about early on. I mean, I think that, yeah, I mean, they're pseudo-sexual characters, aren't they, really,
Mm,
or figurines. And yeah, it's a distortion of somebody's fantasy, and I think that's what makes it really disturbing, to be honest. It's because it's a whole new aggressive, homicidal, sadistic twist on naughty nurses or whatever that might be. I mean, it's just, yeah, it takes something, um, uh, it takes something desirable and makes it very undesirable. And I
mm.
think that's what's good on a subconscious level. I think that's probably part of the reason the game works as well as it does, is that the antagonists have something familiar and subconscious and something you want but can't fathom. Yeah, they're kind of semi sexy psychopaths, but then it's really messed up.
Yeah. But I guess it doesn't
So
really play into your performance too much, does it? In your scenes, would you say? Or
no, not no,
no?
no, no. I think that's more for the player's
Yeah.
experience. No, and the obviously I'm imagining them. There's never anyone there. So
Are you seeing any art or anything? Did you get a picture of what the designs would
oh,
be?
for sure, for
Yep.
sure. They were the art was free flowing, and they were really quite thoroughly mocked up mock-ups of things. Sometimes they were static, like a storyboard, and sometimes there was an animated piece. And sometimes they had already done the mocap themselves
Oh,
back in Poland, Krakow, in the office. So there was a version, and then which I got to work from. And I think where we could, we went for as much choreography precision as possible to try and match what they had in mind for the environment. And we staged it. It's all marked out on the floor, so you know what your route is. And I was allowed some liberties with certainly with delivery, but definitely with movements as well. There was a moment where in Heaven's Gate, and I sit on the stage, and perhaps it was later with Laura. Actually, there's just moments where you take a break, and I just said this was probably the beat to do it. Do you mind if I do it a little bit earlier, or do you mind if I you know stay sitting, and this is what motivates me to get up instead of slightly earlier. So and when we were really, it was a real collaboration. I was allowed to not flex, but do my thing and
mm.
follow impulse, to try and make it as natural for me as possible.
What was your reaction when you saw the abstract daddy? I mean, it's a haunting design. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it, ever,
the
in any
the
medium.
name No, the name itself
Yes.
conjured up horrors, to be honest. And I was familiar from running the dialogue with Gianna that he plays Angela. We all know what we're talking about, and it is awful. And yeah, the animation is brilliantly horrendous, and it truly is. Well, without it actually being abstract, it's a horrible piece.
Even the design of, have you seen the gameplay when you're facing it and that you're in the house and then it turns all, yeah, it's,
Yeah.
it's sickening. But I mean, it's entertaining, but it is sickening, really. Like it's,
Well, I think that's good if that's the effect, right?
yeah.
So if it's sickening, it's hopefully it reinforces some morality that
Mm,
the most of humanity, I hope, carries with them. And
yeah.
yeah, it is, as you say, it's sickening, but it's entertaining. It's kind of like reading American Psycho. It's sickening, but it's entertaining, and that's clever when you walk that tightrope, and it plays on your fears, and you know you're enjoying the game, but then you sit down and ask yourself, what am I enjoying here? Like this is, and it's, I think that's what's, I mean, it's potentially dangerous, but these very well rendered games are immersive. Yeah, I think, I don't know. So I can certainly speak for Bloober Team. They've all got their priorities right, and they're not trying to make cheap thrills. They're trying to, pay homage a ready-made game, but yeah, it is a horror, right? So
It is a horror.
you're going to
Yeah.
do horrible things, and you have to, I suppose, you have to um, feature things which are universally kind of frightening and shocking and upsetting and disturbing. They did it. They nailed it. It's pretty
They nailed
disturbing.
it. They nailed it.
Yeah.
And they enhanced many things about the game, like the whole Eddie fight compared to the original. Is just so much, just very clever. Some things that they just added in there, and he puts on a hell of a performance. Scott, I think his name is.
Scott,
He is
yeah, Scott
fantastic in
Henry,
this.
yeah.
Yeah,
He is fantastic, and the likeness is of a different actor, but the voice is Scott. And yeah, I worked with Scott directly. I didn't work with the other actor, but I did work with Scott, and yeah, together it works to great effect. So power to both of them. And yeah, Scott was amazing. Can't say enough good things about him. Really, he was great. He came in just for a few days, maybe a week, and we worked together. And
and you
it's
had
towards the end,
pizza.
actually.
You had pizza every time for lunch.
Every damn day. Yeah. That's right. That's right. We were all keen for that to stay.
Yeah, that was
Everybody
cool. That
wanted.
was really cool when I saw that. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I wasn't clear that it had made the final cut. I read something online that said, "Oh, where's that scene?" And but it is there. It's there.
Yeah.
So I'm pleased. Yeah. All of that stuff was great. Scott was amazing. What a great guy, lovely man. And just brought it in mind. Yeah.
Have there been things you've figured out or reflected on after the experience and gone, oh shit, I didn't realize that while I was shooting?
There are. I'd have to think about it for a second. I don't
That's
want
all
to
right. If you,
bore your viewers.
no, no, it's all good. If you can't
Um,
think of anything, it's fine. I'm just curious.
yeah, there definitely were though. Most of it was explained to me, but because I am an actor who asks questions. I feel like the more information I have, the more efficient I'm going to be. Because if I know what it is I'm playing and why I'm playing it and what's lurking in my subliminal mind, that kind of stuff, then I can play the surface with confidence, knowing that I haven't missed anything. I think that's my thing going through my acting career is like I need to earn the right to play this. So I looked at a lot of footage of the original game and spoke to the guys a lot. And many discussions, in the evenings. We were all sort of holed up together in the same hotel, and we would meet and have dinner, and the conversation naturally drifts towards the game and the details, and here's the stuff for tomorrow. And if I had questions, I would just pose them, and they would be brilliant. They knew their stuff. These were not guns for hire who just happened to have this contract. They knew everything about this game, and so yeah, the conversations were rich, and then hopefully the scenes are they have the full weight of their knowledge behind all of it. And if I didn't understand, if I didn't understand something, I would ask, because yeah, I don't like to operate. We're operating in a vacuum. The character doesn't know what's going on, but actor Luke needs to know what he doesn't know. And so I can play against that, or I can lean into that depending on what's required for the scene. So yeah, the guys were great, and yeah, it was fun.
And you all collectively said that the dog ending's the true ending, right?
The dog ending is the true ending. Yeah, he is definitely he's the wizard behind the curtain. It had to be done. It was cute that we did the Polish version. I do apologize for my Polish. That was literally, they had to write it down, and I had to sort of speak it out phonetically, really not knowing what I was saying, and then going
I
back
didn't
and saying,
notice if that's anything.
I was like, what am I saying again? Okay, let's go back to the original. That's what I'm saying. Right. And then I say this, what sounds to me like abstract noises, but it's a beautiful language.
Yeah.
Really, all I got from I mean, I can't even say the. It's funny because I've played a Polish mercenary in recent months, and
Oh, wow.
I called them up. I called up Bonje and Mateusz and said, "You got to help me out here. I have to speak German, but with a Polish accent.
Oh,
What
that's tough.
what what vowel sounds should I be? Yeah, it was really good. It was great. It was a great role, and I was thrilled to get asked to do it. But yeah, they were very helpful. But what I was going to say was that the only Polish that I remember is the rude stuff, and things like tak tak tak, little phrases. But yeah, it was great, and we thought it would be fun to do the Polish version of the dog.
I know you're a new father. Do you think
Yeah. Could you hear him a minute ago?
yeah, I could.
Yeah,
But that's sweet. That's fine. The
yeah, it's how it should be, I think.
any advice for me because I'm going to be a new father, one, and two, do you think now you'll play fatherly roles differently now that you've got your own?
I think um, if I was worried before about overplaying that adoration, that sort of contact that you have with your own child, it's like I wouldn't worry about overconnecting now because I now know
It's
like
real.
he has
Yeah.
me wrapped around it. I'm literally, you're tired. All the things they say are true. All the cliches. It's all 100% true. You will be incredibly tired. Your life is not really your own anymore. You are at the mercy of this tiny little thing that will destroy everything. I mean, they don't actually because they're fairly small and helpless at the beginning. Again, Anjay, the writer of this, talked about his blanket potato, and that's kind of what they are at this early stage. But you just wonder how we have some terrific support. We wonder how there's four adults all completely spent, looking wrecked around this tiny little bundle of joy. And that's the thing is that they are designed very very well because you look at them and you just go, oh my god, I love you so much. It's the most ridiculous. Yeah, so I wouldn't hesitate to play that sort of that devotion and adoration. I'll be interested to see. I don't think
Yeah.
I haven't played a dad since he's arrived.
Interesting.
So we'll see. But I have nothing useful to give you. I have no skills when it comes to um, just I would say when you're changing them, um, the wipes are good, but make sure they've just come out of a warm bowl of water because the cold wipe or the cold cotton wool ball, that is not popular. Make it as soothing and pleasant experience as possible. Good luck. Good luck, my friend. Good luck.
A couple more, and thanks again for your time, Luke. We really appreciate it. The red squares for saving the game in Silent Hill. Obviously, there's like one red square throughout the whole game, and then at the end, there's nine. I've always been puzzled about the nine squares. Do you have any sort of theory on this? And also, James looks away in the final red nine. He doesn't look at the red, the nine squares. Interestingly,
That is interesting. I could lie and say I have a theory. I don't. I was informed about the red squares as I was doing it, but I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. And I think, there is it's interesting because obviously, even talking about it, I really love hearing what people project onto it. Now, that's not to say that the designers don't have multiple ideas as to what that is. They likely do, but I think that's part of the joy
we
of
don't want to
this
give away all the
interactive.
secrets, but yeah.
Well, to give away all the secrets, but also, that it's an interactive medium, isn't it? You're
Mm.
playing a game. It's your turn, so it's up to you to decipher it, up to you to project onto it your own feelings. Yeah, the red squares. I was yes, they're again. It's part of the original game, right? It's something that they wanted to preserve. I don't know. I don't know why he looks away from that one.
Mm.
Um, it's definitely not related, but I with the health stuff, and there's that bar, isn't there, of a changing expression
Yes.
of change as he's in. different states, well, states of pain, but states of and discomfort, but also states of realization.
Wow, I didn't think about that. Mm.
So that also, and this is where I found it really interesting because we spent quite a lot of time mapping that. So it's just increasing the awareness and the horror at
Wow.
what it might be and who might be responsible. So look out for that next time you play it because I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, I notice his nails get dirtier as the game goes on, and yeah,
That's it. Yeah,
and even the bags in the eyes. Yep.
that's right. It gets closer and closer to my 40 something self. Um, yeah, it definitely, definitely he ages and his whole demeanor becomes increasingly distressed, I guess.
I,
Um,
I know you haven't met Guy who did the original James, but if you did, what would be one thing you wanted to ask him, or would ask him if you did meet him?
the other actor guy,
Yeah,
um, well, I mean, credit to him because he's the guy who was part of that first movement when it was not an approved game. It didn't have any, there was no precedent for it. There was no, there's no foreknowledge of it. So they created the fans. So whatever they did was sort of again, I just want to give them credit really for the winning formula because obviously there wasn't the movement in the face that we now have. So now the animation can map. Again, there's micro
true.
expressions. Everything I do, my eyes dilate slightly and it picks up. And of course, it can be enhanced and changed if my performance was lousy. But yeah, they had to telegraph it more. So it's a bigger movements and vocally they had to um, exclaim and proclaim that level of distress or frustration just slightly more theatrical, I think, um, but necessarily so. But it has a charm to it. I've seen the one little scrap of footage that I think his wife filmed of his daughter visiting set when he was playing with across from the young actress who was playing Laura at the time, and they do look like there's something out of Avatar, um, or Aliens. They've got all these cables running off them, much more cumbersome than what we had to deal with. I mean, sure, we had the camera mounted, in front of our faces, and when we got these skin tight suits on, these neoprene suits, but yeah, they had a lot more to contend with, really, and to behave naturally and interact and to do it so successfully and to create that. Um, I guess I would ask him whether they thought it was bonkers or whether they
Bought in.
fully could
Yeah,
imagine. Yeah, whether they, yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Whether they bought into the story, but also whether they wondered how effective the technology was going to be, because it's a terrific game. Again, I love that the fog was born out of the fact that they couldn't really
Yeah.
animate the
Yeah.
screen at the same. Like it's amazing.
And now fogs
Um,
is tough for devs now because it's so demanding. Yeah.
this exactly that. Yes, fog, water, and hair. I think is the
Oh,
thing.
hair. Women's hair is long hair
Women's
is
hair,
bad. Yeah.
animal fur, the
Mm.
movement of that through. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's a complex. It just goes to show how incredible nature is really when you try to simulate it. It's actually it's actually quite remarkable.
Is there anything you wanted to say to the fans that have tuned in today or have loved your performance?
Uh, thank you firstly for the incredible fan art and
Oh,
the enthusiasm and the nice comments really because it's much appreciated. It really is. I think we're all so stoked that it's worked and it's worked as well as it has, and it's you know hopefully you get your money's worth because these are not inexpensive games, and so and on top of that, Silent Hill 2 comes with such a history, such a loyal fan base that I'm thrilled that for the most part people are enjoying it and getting to revisit it and maybe introduce it to somebody else. So it's yeah, it's immensely gratifying and pleasing. And yeah, I can't tell you, it really was made with love. Like a lot of people worked really, really hard on it. And I, I only met a small proportion of those technicians, but there's, rooms and rooms of people over many, many months and years, working hard to essentially reinvent the wheel. I mean, you had something perfectly great, but it felt like it was time for an update, and that's what it got. But thank you to the fans, thank you to Guy for um, creating such a good path, and hopefully we've done it a service, and remade it well. It was definitely, yeah, really appreciate the fans. I mean, it's just incredible. It's nice to do this kind of work. It's really nice when people enjoy it,
Yeah.
and they see the details. So it's good.
Last one, Luke. Proudest
Hit me.
proudest moment or scene from the game.
Ooh, I like the opening. I do like the stillness ending. Like is probably the wrong word, but I watched it. I was like, oh yeah, it worked, because as an actor, you're thinking the thoughts, and you can't be thinking about lunch when you're playing these things. I don't think, anyway. I mean, some people are very good at just saying it, shooting from the hip, saying things casually, and it's so charismatic. It's amazing. But I think most of the time people have to work quite hard to make it look easy. And I'm super proud that and pleased that ending particularly works, I think. And yeah, it reads, because sometimes you think these thoughts, and it's especially my variety of acting, if you can call it that, it's pretty small. Like, I would rather, I love cinema, I love movies, I love it when they come in very close, and the actor just needs to think the thought, and you can see the thought, you can see the gears change, and so it's lovely that in this, I get that opportunity, and the character has very quiet, still, close moments, and hopefully most of them work, and that one did, I think. So yeah, I'm proud of that. But yeah, I in terms of enjoyment, it was great working with, because of course in that one I'm sitting there on my own pretending there's a body, maybe, I don't know, don't want to spoil. But
No, well, there is a body there. Don't worry. With the yeah,
you don't see the body, but there is a body.
There's a body.
Yeah, he's having a conversation with a corpse, and it's hard, and it's
Yeah,
hopefully it's hard in a good way. Anyway, so that was cool. But all the work with the other actors, Salóme, as it was amazing.
Yeah.
She was really great, because we had to play the same scene
Yeah.
a number of ways, right? And she was very good at making those subtle, nuanced shifts.
Oh, do you mean the
And
end? Right at the end there? Is that what you mean?
Just, yeah, when I come to see Mary towards the end,
Yep.
if that's right, I've got that right. Yeah,
Yeah.
we did it in a number of ways. And
Yeah, she brought it for that. Ooh, yeah.
she brought it every time, and also she was doing a very I mean, I had guys work as a guide, but also, I was interested in my guide being as personal as possible.
Yeah.
So, but Salome was kind of brilliant at keeping the tone of Maria particularly, and Mary. And it's amazing to watch, because it's unequivocally Salome's imprint on there, and yet, the other stuff is inescapable. She's still very much Mary and Maria from the original, and certain moments particularly, I know she was keen to replicate, so that although it's
so it's kind of, yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Scott too. They have slightly broader characters than mine, in a way. Mine is a little bit more, you live with him every day. He's an everyday guy trying to figure it out. But their characters are a little more surreal, a little more out there. And I thought they brought that really well, and still made it credible. so that their bizarre behavior was what I had to play off. So in a way, I, kind of had the easier job. They had to set the tone, and all I had to do is respond, because the character is essentially quite reactive, right? He's reacting and responding to his environment. He's I don't want to get too metaphysical and meta weird, but it's the environment is shaping him. He is responding to this strange world, and trying to fathom it, trying to figure it out as he goes deeper into it. But they have to come in, and also they had shorter working windows. I was there the whole time, and these guys would come in and do a week or a few days, and they do all their scenes back to back. And they would bring it. They have to come in as a fully formed, wholesome, not wholesome, fully formed human being that exists in that world, and pushes the narrative on. So yeah, they did a great job. So all of that stuff was really good, and I'm glad it worked so well. And then of course there's Evie, who
Oh,
smashed Laura out of the park.
sorry. Yeah, we forgot to mention her.
We
Brilliant.
haven't spoken about her,
Brilliant.
but she was
Honestly,
just yeah. I
fantastic.
mean, I was struck by the first time we did a read through. I was like, damn, the accent is good. It's on point, and she's British, and Salóme is Icelandic, and Scott is from the north, just somewhere up north. No, amazing, and we're all doing accents, and Evie is so young and so talented. I'm delighted to see that her career is going from strength to strength, and yeah, really great.
Have
So
you done more American accents than British in your career?
maybe now, definitely
It's
50
funny,
50.
isn't it? Yeah. It's funny
Keeping up
how
that,
things
yeah,
work.
it is funny how
Uh,
it work. I think, yeah, we have something to do with our path. I mean, it's not predetermined, and we could have a whole discussion about free will, but I feel like early on I had a fairly unhealthy worship of fairly commercial American movies growing up, and so I always wanted to act in the States. I always wanted to act in the US, and now I feel like I act all over the world, which is a blessing. Usually not America, but I play American characters. Um, it's just how it goes.
wow. That's
Yeah,
bizarre.
it is
I
bizarre,
feel
but
like we could talk all day, not only about just anything, but aliens as well. I feel like I talk all day about aliens or anything
I
like.
mean, just that little Woody Woodpecker at the beginning of Alien. I think it's sitting on a glass, isn't it? It's like a spring-loaded thing, and it's losing its momentum or something. It just marks some movement in an otherwise still world. Also, when the doors open, it creates a momentary draft, and a piece of paper flutters or something. It's just incredible. It's incredible environment creation, and I think bring it back to Silent Hill. That's what they've done so well. And
Yeah.
when I looked at the environments, little clips, and when on the last time I was there, they had quite a lot of the game put together, and they showed me. I was like, wow. And they had integrated all my little sort of exhales and breaths and all of that stuff in, and I was like, God, it's got such soundscapes amazing. The visuals are amazing. Has such texture, and yeah, I'm happy that the work we all did sits as well as it does in there. But it's cool. It's a cool game. I should play it. I really should play this game.
Well, the offer's there, Luke. Before I let you go,
Yeah.
is there any chance James could say something to Dan? Is that possible?
Don't go there. Stay away from Silent Hill. Um, it's not safe. It's not safe. Um, I don't know. Yeah, sorry.
No,
That's
no, that's
off the
thank you.
cuff.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah, wow. Well, thank you very much, Luke. I really appreciate your time. People can follow you Instagram, anywhere else?
It's mostly Instagram.
Beautiful.
Yeah, keep it simple. But it's a
Beautiful.
great, it's a great industry, and the fans are amazing. They really are. They're so, I don't know. It's just yeah, it's another level. I'm a big movie fan, TV fan, but the games, the community, and the speculation and the excitement about the characters, I feel, oh, what an amazing. I've found it an amazing world to enter. Um, and contribute to. Yeah, it's a great world, and the fans are just amazing. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, man. Hopefully you win that. It's down, well, up to me. It's down to you and a friend of mine from Final Fantasy who wins best performance of the year, John. But it's down to you two for me.
Oh well, it'll be if okay for the Golden Joystick Awards, or
No,
which?
for Game Awards.
Oh, for the game.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
well, if I get invited along to that one, I'm sure I'll sit there beforehand and say what actors always say to each other in the audition room. Good luck, mate. You do not mean it. Nobody means it. But no, I wish him well. I wish him well. Sounds like I got something else to play.
Yeah, yeah. No. Thank you very much, Luke. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Cheers, Dan. Take care.